People were asking why it seems like now there's this bend towards Israel, and Nicole Rothstein was like, I'm her cousin, she's half Jewish.
It's evil. Charlie and I have always been very clear on our stance. Israel, Jewish people.
Arnold Rothstein, the brain behind the modern underworld, and history remembers him as the man who transformed old-school crime into a business empire.
The side of Erika Kirk's family she never wanted in the spotlight has officially stepped into it. And this time, people are waving actual receipts, not just rumors. What's coming out paints a picture that's way messier than the polished image she's been selling. Folks digging into her background claim she comes from a family history that raises serious eyebrows, not exactly the clean-cut, picture-perfect legacy she presents online. And that's where things start getting uncomfortable. Now here's where the internet really locked in. The last name she allegedly kept quiet about? Some online researchers say it shows up in conversations connected to Jeffrey Epstein. And once people started lining up timelines, names, and old posts, the speculation exploded. To be clear, online claims are not the same as proof, but the chatter alone has people questioning everything.
Is anyone going to talk about this right here? This is Erika with Yair Netanyahu, Bibi Netanyahu's son, and now suddenly she's on Fox News speaking Hebrew.
And that's only part of the storm. Critics also say Erika has been reshaping how the public remembers Charlie Kirk, especially when it comes to his faith. Some supporters feel she's softened or minimized how strongly he spoke about Jesus Christ, and that shift hasn't gone unnoticed. So the big question people keep asking is simple. If she openly identifies as Christian, why would she allegedly blur those parts of Charlie's beliefs? That contradiction has sparked non-stop debate. And now, with fresh screenshots circulating, some viewers are wondering whether her entire public image was carefully curated from day one, built to fit a narrative that served a bigger strategy. Here's where it gets even more specific. If you scroll back 8, 9, even 10 years on her old social media pages—
Not kidding, I was peeping through his companies and he's got a property management company, a hedge fund, and a bunch of others, and none of them seem to actually do much. That all said, whatever Alan and his family are doing is evidently working quite well for them, I might add. As Alan, through a tool I use, I learned that Alan lives in a $13 million home. Not bad for a guy who seems to have never really worked a job or built anything himself.
The same woman appears in the comments again and again. Same profile, same tone, same presence. And longtime viewers noticed something wild. That woman looks exactly like the so-called roommate who kept appearing in Erika's New York era videos. But insiders are now claiming that wasn't just some random roommate situation at all. And that detail changes the whole frame of the story. Her name is Nicole Rothstein. And she isn't just some random commenter floating around the internet. She's reportedly Erika's cousin. Then that connection came into focus after Nicole posted, and later deleted, a comment under a clip of Erika talking about honoring the Shabbat. In that comment, Nicole wrote, "As her cousin who is fully Jewish, half of her family is Jewish."
For instance, there is a long case file which goes into detail about how Alan defrauded someone of hundreds of thousands of dollars. He was supposed to be a consultant, but was actually just an insider, kind of like a spy, and was just getting info and using his position to spend hundreds of thousands of the company's dollars.
While she herself is a Christian, and she has celebrated many Jewish holidays with our side of the family and highly respects the Jewish religion. That statement alone confirms something Erika had never really spelled out clearly before. There's a whole side of the family most viewers didn't know about. But the story doesn't stop there. If you used to click on certain older photos on Erika Kirk's Instagram, there was reportedly a tag leading straight to someone named Alan Rothstein, a man she has referred to as her uncle. And once people started asking who he was, the digging began fast. Screenshots circulated, archived links popped up, and suddenly, the family tree didn't look so simple anymore. Public court records connected to an individual named Alan Rothstein show a complicated legal dispute involving business dealings and serious financial allegations.
Take his phone Friday night, Shabbat Shalom, throw it in the junk drawer, and
he would come in, open the junk drawer, everyone has a junk drawer, open the junk drawer, said Shabbat Shalom, put it in there, turn the phone off, slam the door. And on Friday night when he would get home from work, he would turn off his phone and he would shove it in the junk drawer and he would say Shabbat Shalom.
According to filings referenced online, he was accused in a civil matter of defrauding a business of large sums of money. The claim was that he was hired as a consultant but allegedly operated more like an insider, billing major fees while questions were raised about the actual value delivered. These are allegations from legal documents, not criminal convictions, but the numbers involved were big enough to get attention. The filings also mention disputes over assets and financial representations that were allegedly inaccurate. It's dense, not technical stuff, but the theme people online keep repeating is simple. This was someone who understood complex money movement. Then there's the corporate trail.
Ask a question, is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question, that maybe we shouldn't believe everything the media says.
Online researchers claim his name appears connected to various business entities, from property management ventures to investment-style companies. None of that is illegal by itself, but critics argue the pattern looks complicated enough to make people curious. And that curiosity is exactly why this side of the family is now under the microscope. But some of these companies reportedly tied to the Rothstein name have almost no real online footprint, no active websites, no clear products, no visible customers, just business entities sitting there on paper for years. Now let's be fair, shell companies by themselves are not illegal. Plenty of businesses use holding structures for normal reasons.
And that family would be the Rothschilds. Indeed, I was rather surprised to see that the two families are related, and pretty directly, because all I had to do was scroll over to the side and boom, there it was. The Rothsteins and the Rothschilds, two infamous crime families, connected right next to one another.
But are those kinds of entities sometimes used to move money quietly? But yes, they can be. And when people line that up with the past civil allegations connected to Alan Rothstein, it naturally raises eyebrows. But the conversation doesn't stop with Alan, because when people started tracing the Rothstein family tree, another name popped up. Arnold Rothstein. He was one of the most well-known organized crime figures in early 20th century America. During Prohibition, while others were scrambling to figure out how to profit from the alcohol ban, Arnold was already operating at a high level, reportedly making massive money through illegal liquor networks.
I gotta be careful the way I say this. The Israeli government has a mandate they're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza.
He was also famously indicted in connection with the 1919 World Series scandal, accused of being linked to game-fixing allegations. However, despite the charges and all the headlines, he was never convicted in that case. And here's the part that still fuels speculation today. Testimony from several players who had appeared before a grand jury reportedly vanished. No clear explanation, just gone. That mystery has lived on in history books for decades. Now, to be clear, sharing a last name does not automatically mean direct involvement or responsibility. That's important. But online commentators have pointed out that the Rothstein name has long been associated with powerful financial networks and controversial stories. Some even draw comparisons to other historically influential banking families that have been the subject of endless conspiracy theories, from currency control to economic influence. Those claims remain theories, not verified facts. And here's where things get even more layered.
It's hate. It's evil. Charlie and I have always been very clear on our stance. Israel, Jewish people. It's awful. Awful. Anti-Semitism is what healing factor comes out of hating Jewish people? Charlie always would say very clearly, Jew hate was brain rot.
According to online researchers referencing Project Constitution, they claim there may be distant family connections between the Rothstein line Erika is allegedly connected to and other historically prominent families. Whether that connection is close, distant, or purely coincidental is still debated. But once that information started circulating, the internet definitely took notice. It also didn't go unnoticed that both of these well-known family names have appeared inside publicly released Epstein-related court documents, and not just once or twice. Yet online databases show repeated mentions across thousands of pages. Now, that doesn't automatically mean wrongdoing. Court files often list many names for many different reasons. But when people already have questions, seeing those names over and over definitely makes them pause.
Candace Owens seized on this totally out of context screenshot of Charlie Kirk being very upset that a Jewish donor was withholding his $2 million donation. And she used this as an attempt to say, oh, Josh Hammer's lying, that Charlie Kirk remained pro-Israel until his final moments. Yeah. But she's also holding aside that 2 hours after this screenshot, if you look at the timestamps, 2 hours after that, I and a few others were in a small Zoom chat, a small Zoom call with Charlie Kirk the night before he was killed that Charlie organized. Charlie organized this Zoom call for the express purpose of trying to make sure that he had all the best answers, the best messaging advice for how to speak about Jewish-Christian relations and the Israel question on college campuses.
That's why critics quickly tied it back to the rumors that have followed Erika Kirk for months, including online accusations that she was somehow connected to recruiting circles linked to Jeffrey Epstein. There is no verified public proof confirming those claims, but once speculation starts, it spreads fast. And when viewers heard she was allegedly related to Rothsteins, some said things suddenly clicked in their minds. They even started revisiting her public use of the phrase Shabbat Shalom and asking new questions. Here's what people are debating. Did anyone ever publicly hear Charlie Kirk use that phrase himself, outside of what Erika has said? And supporters argue that Charlie was open about his Christian faith. Critics question why that specific greeting keeps being emphasized now. It's true that Shabbat Shalom is traditionally a Jewish greeting, while some Christians observe a Sabbath. That phrase isn't commonly used in Christian communities. So viewers are asking, why present it as something Charlie allegedly said all the time? Some believe she's simply honoring both sides of family heritage. And others feel it reshapes how his faith identity is remembered. That tension is what keeps the debate alive.
We always knew that there were people out there that hated us with deep, deep passion of hate. But it didn't scare us. He was never afraid of that. Neither was I. Obviously, we protect our children. You know, we don't show their faces on the internet. If that was our last day, it was our last day. Like, we always lived as if it was the last day. That's why Charlie's speeches were so good. But again, it wasn't anything that, you would think any different.
Acute.
No.
And then there's the timing. Before his tragic death, Charlie had reportedly become more outspoken on certain controversial issues. So critics are wondering whether these narrative shifts are coincidence or something more strategic. At this point, those are questions circulating online, not proven facts, but they're questions that aren't going away anytime soon. At this point, there's really no need to guess where Charlie Kirk stood. There are multiple video clips of him speaking clearly about his beliefs, and you can literally see the frustration on his face in some of those moments. He talked openly, he didn't sugarcoat things, and toward the end, many viewers felt like he was carrying serious weight on his shoulders. Whether that pressure was political, personal, or something happening behind the scenes, it was visible. And so that brings up the uncomfortable question people keep asking. What was Erika Kirk's role in all of it? If she loved him the way she says she did, and if she fully supported his convictions, wouldn't the natural move be to protect his exact message and demand full transparency about who was pushing back against him? Instead, critics argue that the public narrative has shifted. They say parts of his legacy feel softened, reframed, or redirected, almost like the focus is being moved somewhere else entirely. Some supporters believe she's simply navigating complicated territory. Others think she's reshaping the story in a way that changes how people remember what Charlie stood for. That's where the tension is. The more statements get analyzed, the more screenshots resurface, the more side-by-side comparisons pop up, and people are noticing the contradictions. And here's the wild part. Erika herself has said not to believe in coincidences. So now viewers are applying that same logic back to her. Are these shifts accidental or strategic? That's the debate lighting up comment sections everywhere. If you've made it this far, drop your thoughts below because this conversation is far from over. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can see the receipts. And I'll catch you in the next one.